Again, the first question is, please choose one of the specific planks of the platform and address it.
Good evening, my name is Kim Council. Council for Council, Aberdeen. Looking at your platform, I actually support everything that you have on here, but the thing that I'm most passionate about is the affordable housing. I've worked in my free time, spare time, to build affordable housing in Brooklyn. Serving on the board of directors of the Berean Community and Family Life Center. We just broke ground and are almost finished with 107 units of affordable housing in Brooklyn. And through the East New York Development Corporation, we have about 100 and almost 200 units of affordable housing that are already completed and fully tenanted. And we're also working on 2 other affordable housing projects over in East New York. So I think that housing and healthcare are 2 things that are very, very important. And so those are the things that I would advocate for on your behalf. I think that, and not only affordable and not only low cost, but quality. I think one of the things that we neglect when we talk about affordable housing is when we bring down the cost, oftentimes we use poor materials, and so we want to make sure that you have quality affordable housing. And so we've got to work together to find a way to make that happen, so that that's not something that you're concerned about, so that you are able to go out and perform and do the things that you do. And just to give you a little background on myself, I'm also an artist. I played the alto saxophone. I played in the high school jazz band, and I was in a marching band in college. I was in a marching band for 4 years, 1 credit hour, practice every day, performed every Saturday. So I understand what it is that you go through as artists. And I think that this forum is very, very important. Thank you for inviting me.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to thank the League of Independent Theaters for inviting me here. My name is William Russell Moore, and I'd like to give a shout out to all the Bronx residents that are here supporting me tonight. I'm going to tackle point number 2. One of my platform, point number 9 of my platform, you can check it out at more2013.com, is to create a for-profit economic engine in the Bronx where I come from. If you understand the Bronx, we don't have too many venues or spaces for artists or for residents to be involved in. So I want to create a for-profit entity that's going to basically tap into the off-Broadway market, the on-Broadway performances, and bring world-class acts to the districts. And I'm going to need your support to do that. I see a sea of folks out here today, and you guys represent what it is that's moving the city. And we need to bring that vibrant and that energy back to the borough of the Bronx. So I need your support. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Laurie Cumbo, and I'm running for City Council in the 35th Council District, representing Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights, parts of Bedford-Stuyvesant. And so I am extremely excited today. As many of you may or may not know, I'm the founder and the executive director of the Museum of Contemporary African Diaspora and Arts, also known as MOCADA. And I will be the first museum director to run for City Council. So I am thrilled about this opportunity. And one of the things that I've been most passionate about is understanding that one of the reasons why I feel that arts and culture and education are so on the chopping block is because we have not had representatives coming directly from that community. And I feel that once we, such as Council Members Jimmy Van Bramer, Councilmember Letitia James, that are coming and have an understanding of the cultural community, enter into government, we will create a pathway where so many talented and creative people that can bring a new voice, innovation, creative ideas to government, which it is desperately in need for. One of the things that I'm very, very, very passionate about here is with the Cultural Institute groups, the CIGs. Phenomenal base of organizations, and they too are hurting at this same time. My plan would not be to take away funding from the Cultural Institute groups because they provide an invaluable service, but it is to expand the entire budget for the arts organizations throughout New York City. We can't continue to pit the CIGs against the small not-for-profit organizations. But what the city does need to do is to make sure that we don't only highlight the CIGs. New York City has to recognize that the over thousands of organizations that are in New York City need to be highlighted, whether they're small, mid-sized, or large institutions. Because when we recognize the breadth of the entire cultural industry and we celebrate the nuances and the cultures and all the various neighborhoods, we will truly be a dynamic city. And so I am in support of making sure that we support our smaller institutions, mid-sized and larger, and we make sure that the budget incorporates all of them. And I will be your champion and voice in government to make sure that this budget expands to include all of our cultural representations that make New York City the greatest city in the entire world.
She's a mini me. Even though I'm not endorsing her, but I love her. So my name is Letitia James, and I represent what is known as the BAM Cultural District, the greatest district in the whole city of New York. Yes, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, a little bit of Bed-Stuy, a little bit of Vinegar Hill, which is also known as Dumbo. And so I represent all these wonderful cultural organizations, from BAM to Makata to 651 to Mark Morris to Theater for a New Audience. And the list goes on and on. South Oxford Space, Writers Coalition, all of these organizations, Mark Morris, Urban Bushwomen, which I love. But this city council has been the subject of a documentary called The Battle of Brooklyn. This city council was portrayed in a documentary by civilians called In the Footprint. This city council brings drama to the office of politics, and this city council member cares about the arts because she recognizes the economic development that it brings to the district that I represent. When BAM closes, restaurants hurt. When organizations all throughout the city of New York, and particularly arts organizations, go dark, businesses hurt. But more important than that, it's the small organizations that I really feel close to. And so this wonderful woman who I worked with, she created an organization called the Cultural Equity Group in response to CIGs to increase the pot of money for cultural organizations in the city of New York. In addition to that, I was involved in an organization called N to the O to the C to the D. What is that? Natural Occurring Cultural Districts. It's an organization that started in Greenpoint, extended to Williamsburg and Fort Greene. We're working with these organizations to create natural occurring cultural districts so that they can get support from the city of New York. I've worked with a number of developers to ensure that their development, as we rezone, that they provide the community space to cultural organizations. And so all of the development that you are seeing in downtown Brooklyn, a condition of my support is that you have to house a cultural district, and that cultural organization, and that cultural organization has to provide free arts and cultural services to children in the district. Yeah. Thank
you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Cathy Guerriero, and I am very aggressively running for the Office of Public Advocate of the City of New York, and it is quite an honor to be here tonight. The plank that I'd like to speak about specifically has to do with housing. And it has to do with housing because, as we know, the artist community in this city, not just the young starting artists, but the retired artists, have given their lives, literally their bodies, to this city, to the arts, day in and day out, and we don't take care of them. And if it sounds like this is a little personal to me, well, it really is, because my husband is one of them. He runs a theater in Times Square. He's a former Broadway dancer, and he's been in the arts for 30, 35 years. And if he can't do what he's been doing, if he can't run his small business, if my family hangs on his fingernails because New York doesn't take care of the small business owners that are connected to the arts, well, then my family can't survive. So it's very, very, very personal. And I have a 3-year-old little girl, and she's in art classes and music classes and dance classes and movement classes because I know what's important for a child. And my expertise is children in the schools. I have a PhD in schools policy, and I teach at Columbia University. So I know that we can't do this stuff unless you put arts back in the classroom. Put the arts back in the classroom. And that's not just for the children and the development of a part of their brains that can't happen any other way, but that's also for the teachers and the jobs for the artists in training, in residence, and can teach those children. So that's jobs for you, and that's learning and expertise and brain development for my child. And when I fight for the future of New York City and the artist community, with all due respect, I fight for my family. Thank you.
This is a feisty panel for the rest of the day.
Bring it on! We saved the best for last.
So, lightning
And yes,
round.
we support 1%.
There you go. Well, let's see it. We want to see it. You all know 1% for culture. How many know 1% for culture?
Yay.
How many support it tonight, endorse it?
Yay.
How many people are willing to have at least a quarter staff person's time dedicated?
I'll do you better than that. You got a full-time council member.
There you go. Okay.
Right.
Who's running for public advocate?
How many of you are willing to commit to have at least one arts town hall during your campaign?
We have several.
All right, very
I
good.
commit to 5, 1 per borough, because the artist conversation in New York City is a 5-borough conversation. Right? And with all due respect to all of us in Manhattan, and I live in the Lower East Side with a gentleman who will never live anywhere other than Manhattan, the reality is I grew up in a far, far away land called Staten Island. That's right. And Staten Island needs every bit of the arts as every other borough.
Okay, you are very
I
impressive.
hijacked.
All right, so given that this is not a Manhattan panel, let's talk about borough equity.
Yes.
Okay, you want to take it on?
So,
Wait,
again,
wait, wait.
sorry. No, you go, Kim. No, Kim, go ahead, Kim.
When I grow up, I want to be Tish James.
We're all striving to do that.
It's interesting that you would ask the question about borough equity, because one of the things that I was thinking about as I've been sitting here is that, I'm running for city council in the 37th Council District, which represents the neighborhoods of Cypress Hills, East New York, Bushwick, City Line, and Wyckoff Heights. And anybody from Brooklyn? One of the things that we have been talking about, we were having these conversations with women in the community, there are no cultural places, there are no dedicated space for the arts in that neighborhood. There's like Arts East New York. But, while Tish's district is like so overdeveloped and has all of that stuff, there's nothing on our side of town. And, as Scott Stringer talked about, those are the things that keep our kids safe. My mom saw to it that when I was a young person that I went to dance school. I went to Fournier Guerriero Performance and Arts. And we performed every year at Avery Fisher Hall at the end of the year. We had our recital. These things stay with you. These things show you that you have different choices. So I think it's very important, that we spread the love all over. And I think that the arts, I think music, I think those types of things are very important. They're deterrents, and they're things that encourage our kids to live better lives and make better choices.
I'm from the boogie down Bronx, and as you know, the Bronx is a borough with a lot of expression. We created hip hop.
There's a debate over there. That's another forum.
And not only that, even in the musical expression, the electric boogie and so forth, the electric slide, there's a lot of stuff that we create as a people in the boogie down Bronx. I have to represent. But one thing, I came from, I had my early starts in the Department of Youth Services, and I worked with Commissioner Murphy back in the day, and he used to always tell me that every 5 blocks is a big city. So if every 5 blocks is a big city, that tells you the magnitude of how many cultural institutions we're going to need. So again, that's why I propose, and I think it should be a model for all the other council districts to adopt. We need to have a fully funded multicultural center. And when you have something like that, it's going to tackle the housing issue. It's for profit. I say for profit. I'm not against non-for-profit, but for profit. Because I believe in your ability. I believe in the ability of everyone in here to come to the Boogie Down Bronx, right? Use your intellect, right? And teach folks in the Bronx how to do theater, how to do dance, how to do it professionally, but also attract the world-class acts. We have about 80 different ethnic groups. that are bored. Okay? So, no, really. When you talk about a lack of opportunity, a lack of space for people to meet, even when I had my fundraiser, I had difficulty finding a place to rehearse. If it's not a church that we can work with, there's really no other avenues for that. So again, I encourage everyone here to support my candidacy. I'm gonna just say a couple of things. I'm gonna hear that thing soon. www.more2013.com. You can reach me at 718-989-2013. My name is William Russell Moore, and I'm here to support you 100%.
13 years ago, I started the museum out of my graduate thesis from NYU. I had an opportunity to travel to Bilbao, Spain, and at that time, people were only going to Madrid and Barcelona. But now all of a sudden, because there was this beautiful Guggenheim Museum by Frank Gehry, people were now making the trip to Spain to see all three cities. And I was so excited to see how this one particular institution revitalized that once shipbuilding town into an economic engine. And I saw then at a very early age the power that arts have. And going all throughout Europe and seeing how the government supports so many of these institutions, not at 10%, not at 20%, but most of these institutions are receiving 80 to 90% of their funding from the government, because the government recognizes that arts and culture are an economic engine that works on so many levels, from job creation to the creation of hotels to supporting local businesses, as well as the strong economic impact that it has on our small businesses. So our educational sector also ties in very closely to this. It's like a complete win-win. So when I came back home to my community of Bedford-Stuyvesant, I thought, how can I create an institution that will revitalize this economy economically, socially, and aesthetically? One of the challenges that I've seen with that has been the budget dance. From January to June, cultural institutions, and many of you know this, we have to run back and forth to City Hall to demand and ask and write letters and phone call and stop the very work that we're doing that's so critical to so many of our young people. Every year we have to find out about new regulations that the city and the state have passed. They've cut funding to give out to our elected officials on the federal level. They've cut it out on the state level. The New York State Council on the Arts used to give out funding in 4 categories. Now it's only 2. They've devastated their entire staff, and we don't have support there. The city council each year gets reductions, and these things are very problematic. But I'll say on a very serious note, at this very time in our community, we are having a vigil for a young man that was killed in East Flatbush on Saturday night. And what so many of the parents in the community were demanding was that they wanted to see cultural institutions, they wanted to see community centers, they wanted to see our homeless shelters turned into centers where our young people would have opportunities to learn, create, and grow in a safe environment. We know in this room the power of exposure, and it's important that we give those young people that exposure. Thank you.
So again, CIGs, the cultural institution groups, again, we really need equity for all institutions and all arts programming all throughout the city of New York. And what I love about the South Oxford space, that really is the model. What I love about the James Davis building, where Mikado is housed, is the model in the city of New York. What I love about Irondale, which is housed in a church, and which I supported and provided capital funds for, is the model. But what I also support is the Paul Robeson Theater, which I've been working to restore back to its original form. Yes. What I love is what Danny Simmons does every Saturday at his gallery, where he opens up his doors and he provides arts programming to children free. Children primarily from the public housing across the street. Children, unfortunately, who come out of their shadow, come out of their shyness. People who there's a spark of light in their eye. That's what arts and culture does for children. And so it's really critically important that that the city of New York sets up these artificial barriers which deny you funding. And each and every year they change the rules. And what we really need is to make sure that this dance that they do with cultural institutions ends. And what we need to do is support naturally occurring cultural districts all throughout the city of New York. We need to reduce the tax burden that so many of you are experiencing. experiencing, and provide and recognize you not as social service agencies, but as economic development engines in the city of New York. Because of what you provide and what you do. So I thank you. I look forward to working with you as your next public advocate, because that will be the platform of Letitia James. Thank you.
So I want to be very clear about, my husband, the consummate actor, said to me, you have to be in your being state tonight. I don't know. Okay, all right. But, so anyway, I'm present with myself. But here I go. Actors, right? But really, I want to be very clear about what the public advocate can do, right? This is not the great and powerful Oz. This is a very specific, discrete job with a very specific and discrete reach. And as many of you probably know, the budget of the public advocate has been eviscerated. So what are we going to do with $2 million? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do and how it connects to this community. We have put together a proposal that we've put out to the press this week, and I've been talking about since July. We're going to, in addition to the $2 million of this Office of the Public Advocate, I'm going to put together a 50-person Office of the Public Advocate think tank that is going to cost New York City the low, low price of nothing. And I'm going to do it with graduate students, with research fellows from PhD and master's programs from around the city that are going to come for credit, and are going to come for co-authorship, and are going to come for research and experience and jobs in the public advocate. And we are going to promulgate research and ombudsman and legal help for nothing, for free, on the ground. And some of what we're going to do, to the tune of 5 staff, is put together a grant writing team. Because guess what? I'm good at that. And it's not just government money, because government money is hard to come by these days. There's also private money, and there's foundations, et cetera, et cetera. And you need help with people that can get the grants and get the monies, federal, state, local, foundation, and private, to help you do the job that you're already doing. And the Office of the Public Advocate under Cathy Guerriero is going to do that in spades with 50 staff and a team of 5 that are going to churn out research and cash for programs like you. Thank you very much.
We have 1-minute wrap-ups, and then we're done. Let's go.
We've heard some wonderful ideas tonight. We have heard some really, really fantastic ideas, and I don't think I've heard anything that I disagreed with. I'm the only candidate here running from Brooklyn for the 37th district, and I just want to share with you that you have a very unique opportunity. You've heard from people. I think this is the first time that you're actually doing this process. So you have the opportunity to put boots on the ground and put people in office that care about the things that you care about. My daughter is 15 years old, and she is an aspiring playwright. And I try to encourage. She spends her summers writing plays, and then she takes all her cousins and produces, directs and stars in the plays. And so, and as I shared with you, I'm a performer myself. I'm also a preacher, so we perform every Sunday. But so I will fight for you. I will fight for the things that are important to you. You will have a friend, you will have a partner, you will have an advocate in Kim Council.
Again, my name is Wayne Russell Moore, and I'm running for the 18th Councilman District seat in Bronx County. I would do my council district a disservice if I didn't identify to you, the audience, some of the areas. I'm representing Parkchester. Parkchester's in the house. Shore Haven, Classen Point, Soundview, and also White Plains area in the Bronx as well. We heard a lot of great speakers, and I'm impressed by a lot of them. And one thing I want to say is that, we as a group, we have to hold our economic engines accountable. What do I mean by that? In the Bronx, the boogie down Bronx, right? We have one of the greatest economic engines that's viable to this day. That's the World Yankee Stadium, right? Let's give it up for the Yankees. They can do a lot also as partners with us. And as the next councilman for the 18th Councilman District seat, I will hold the Yankee owners and the players accountable to our district so that we can provide things for our community, such as a cultural arts theater, and also an economic engine in my district as well. So with that, I want to say thank you again and support my candidacy, WilliamSmore.com, more2013.com, and my telephone number again is 347-989-2013. Thank you. I was about to give you my personal number. Sorry about that.
Good evening again. My name is Laurie, Cumbo, and I really want to thank all of you for being here today. This is so incredible and so powerful what you're doing. As I've stated, I'm running for City Council in the 35th, and because I'm an arts leader and an arts administrator, I'm an entrepreneur who built her business straight out of graduate school, out of my graduate thesis, into a 13-year-old institution that now has an operating budget of $1 million, has 9 after-school programs, has a film festival that's doing programming in public housing, but yet in this whole political process, the political pundits and advisors and specialists and all those things said, don't mention the arts again, okay? Do not talk about the arts. When you're getting up there doing your stump speech, don't mention it. People don't respect it, they won't take you seriously, and they want to know, what does someone who has an arts background and a history of building an institution know about government? We know everything about government. We know more about government than the arts because we always have to be up in City Hall or in Albany advocating for art. So what you're doing today is so powerful to me because we have to make sure that the arts become a quality of life issue. This is just as important as any other issue that we're talking about. And in addition to that, it also has a solution attached to it. The arts are a solution for gun violence. They are a solution for stop and frisk. They are a solution for economic development. They are a solution for job creation. They are a solution for our young people learning. It is a solution across the board. So let's support the arts, continue what you're doing, and this music starting to sound good.
Laurie Cumbo. So I want to thank all of you for coming and for recognizing that politics is not a spectator sport, that it requires active participation. And I'm glad all of you have spent your Tuesday here listening to all of us and to all of the candidates. And so on behalf of all of the candidates, we thank you. Let me just say that deserves some applause. Time off the clock. Let me also go on to say I'm running for public advocate because to a certain extent I have been the public advocate, particularly for the arts. If you look at the district that I represent, and if you look at all that I have done, I am a frustrated actress. As someone who has read from Richard Wright and Paul Robeson and Walt Whitman, and as someone who most recently danced my best Beyonce style, raising funds for the arts in downtown Brooklyn, I recognize the important role that all of you play in the city of New York. But I also recognize, again, I see you as economic engines because of the number of people that you employ. But I also recognize that rents are going up. There's health insurance that's a major issue, and taxes continue to close doors. There's been a number of small community-based arts organizations in my district that have been displaced. And what we must do is do the model that I'm about to do, and is create more arts housing. We are before the BSA to create permanent affordable housing for the artists in a small industrial site on Dean Street. It's only going to create 10 affordable housing, but it's going to be permanent. And that will be the model going forward. So, as the next public advocate, it's not what you can do, but the question is, what have you done? Look at the record of Letitia James, the next public advocate. I thank you very much.
So I'm a working class kid. The daughter of 2 New York City public school teachers. I'm the oldest of 6 kids in an Italian-American family, teachers and firemen and cops. And my grandfathers were longshoremen. And we stand on the shoulders of giants. And the unions in this city built my family and allowed me to go to school till I was 27 years old. My father used to say, does anyone around here want to get a job? But I digress. And I've spent the last 20 years, if you can believe it, literally planning for this exact moment. Literally filling up the glass so I would know something. I would have a life well led. I would be deep and wide and broad. I'm good at it. Cathy Guerriero in the public advocate space is a new voice, a fresh voice. Somebody says this shall not pass. There is more to the story. There are voices, there are artists who haven't been heard, who haven't been tended to, who haven't been dealt an equal card in an equal deck, in an equal conversation, in an equal deck. Thank you. This is important to me. It's personal. It's in my family. I work hard. I'm going to work often. And I'm going to be your worst nightmare. I'm going to come after you every day and ask for your support. Guerriero for Advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking it out. I think the payoff was just that on camera. And the bar is open downstairs.
Please don't forget, I have materials in the back. Don't forget to take one. I spent a lot of time on a letter for you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Real quick, I just want to again thank all of the candidates who came in tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank all of you guys for showing up. We got to thank the Players Club, John McCormick, for hosting us. The Players Club, Rocks, go down to the bar. Real quick, guys, real quick. I know the bar is open. We heard a lot tonight. We heard a lot of passion, a lot of fresh ideas, actually, which was excellent. However, my friend and our elder, Norman Thomas Marshall, portrayer of John Brown, is with us. Norman was the lead in the Gorilla Queen back in 1960. Help me out, Mark. 1967. So that goes way back off Broadway. Martin leaned over to me and whispered halfway through this. He said, "You know, I've heard all this before. 1972, when the stakes weren't as high as they are now, we filled a Broadway house, and I've heard all of this before." So let me just quick reality check, guys. We heard a lot, and it was good stuff. Words. And as we all know, beautiful words die on the stage without action, right? Action. I am very grateful that you guys showed up. However, I am not satisfied, and I don't want you to leave here satisfied. Leave here inspired. But action, simple action. Join the league, simple action. We send you something, open the motherfucker. Read it. And going further, of course, boots on the ground, guys. You need to tell us. Boots on the ground, all right? Boots on the ground, downstairs to the bar. I'm drinking scotch. Let's do it. Thank you all.